It is NBA action on EA Sports. I'm Ed Cohen. Great to be joined by Jay Williams. Should be a terrific game here tonight. We're at Chesapeake Energy Arena in downtown OKC. Tonight, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Utah Jazz. The Jazz control the tap. Conley to Gobert. The pass set it all up.
He's been doing this for years. The physicality in which he plays, no one wants to see that. You're going to leave the game with black and blue marks all over your body.
Chance for Chris Paul. Yes, it drops. A little drama on that one. When you look at playmakers in the last decade plus, what sets Chris Paul apart?
He always puts you in a position to succeed. He leads because he's vocal, and when he directs and he guides, there is nobody better at the position than CP3.
Conley, guarded by CP3. Gets a look, can't hit.
The contest was good, but you being a nuisance was great. Continue to be that gnat that no matter how many times you swing at it, it never goes away.
Gilgeous-Alexander, deep right corner to Gilgeous-Alexander. Shot clock winding down. Shot clock expires. 24-second violation. Jay, 48 wins for Utah last year. Good for 5th in the West. What's the forecast now?
I know Jazz fans may hate me on this one, but they'll be 5th or worse. And the reason why I'm saying this is that every team above them has 2 superstars or more. Who's going to be that second superstar to go along with Donovan Mitchell is a big-time question for Quinn Snyder.
Here's Paul. Brings it up the floor. Takes stock of the floor. Here comes the screen. Paul. To Gilgeous-Alexander. Here's a chance from long range. Gilgeous-Alexander forcing one there. Well defended. Conley into the front court. Leads a bucket. Mike Conley, 2 for 3 now here in the first.
You normally don't see that, but that's the type of thing that keeps shooters in the league for a long time. Every once in a while, they venture into the paint.
Paul. Fires the 3. Cleans the offensive glass. The follow won't go either. Conley into the front court. They lead it. 4-point game. To Gobert. To Joe Ingles. The Jazz with 4 in the shot clock. Mike Conley, 3 for 4. Good start.
That was a tough shot. The guy was in your pocket. He even contested the shot. Everything was going according to plan until then.
To Gilgeous-Alexander. Paul knocks it down from mid-range.
The defense is doing such a good job of denying him the ball and really getting in his pocket, but he got that one to go.
Mitchell with it up top. Just under a minute to play here in this opening quarter. To Conley. Fires the 3. His first effort off the mark. Paul into the front court. Trailing by 4. Nothing going here on that drive. Shot from the lane won't go. Rudy Gobert pins it.
Just erasing mistakes left and right.
Knocked loose. Paul. Not done yet. Nice follow-up on the dunk there.
You never want to leave anything to chance when you attack the rim. You finish strong every time you head home.
Donovan Mitchell with the rock. Off the mark. Well contested. He'll let one fly from half court. The first quarter's complete. Jazz have the lead. First quarter complete, on to the second period. A little bit of a feeling out process so far.
I really like what I'm seeing. Both teams look engaged. There's some trash talking going on the court. I think this has a making to be a big-time game.
Screen coming. Gilgeous-Alexander to Adams. Joe Ingles rejects it. That's out. Last touch by Joe Ingles. From long range. Free throws coming up.
There's a very fine line between maximum effort and carelessness. I'm willing to live with a few mistakes and maximum effort than having to constantly remind my players to close out.
Second and three is good. Whoops, that won't go. Across the timeline, it's Conley. He'll run the offense. Jay, we talk about it all the time. The coaches in this league, who best puts their players in a position to shine? And now I give you Quinn Snyder.
I remember Quinn Snyder, after an ugly loss to Atlanta last year, really made some changes to their system. And here's the thing I love about Quinn Snyder. He recruited me when I was 15 and 16 years old. He was an assistant coach at Duke. The way he spoke to me really got me to buy in. He taught me that it was about being part of something bigger than yourself. And when you buy into what Quinn Snyder preaches, that's how you end up beating OKC in the first round NBA playoffs.
Short jumper misses.
That's how you do it. You keep riding him to the basket, and if the refs aren't calling it, keep being physical. Keep knocking him off balance.
Conley against Chris Paul. Looking for his man. Throws it down off the alley-oop pass. Jay, that's a strong connection.
And it's always about the play before the play. Look how the eyesight was able to connect between two players. We call that an eyesight contract, because when you have a contract that's signed, sealed, and then delivered like that, that's how great plays are made.
Conley. Finishing inside the paint on that one.
Attack mode isn't a switch that you can just turn on and off. He needs to do more of that. We need to see him penetrate, get into that lane, and create.
Paul into the front court. Now down 6. Here comes the screen. Gilgeous-Alexander to Paul. Deep two there, won't go. It's Jazz ball. Conley to Gobert. To Joe Ingles. Down to 5 on the 24. Trying to cash in. Wide open look, won't go. To Paul. Shot won't go. Joe Ingles. They get it down to Gobert. Throws it down.
The true measure of Rudy Gobert comes on the defensive end. He was all-NBA defensive first team and was tied for the lowest opponent field goal percentage at 43%. You ain't getting by that.
Paul. To Gilgeous-Alexander. Has a chance. And the rebound comes down to Utah. Mitchell with the basketball. His team on top by 8. Conley. To Joe Ingles. Mike Conley. He's now 4 for 6.
Well, they have such great flow to their offense this evening. The ball isn't sticking to one player individually. It's moving around the perimeter, and it's zipping. They're playing with a special cohesiveness.
Goes reverse to lay it in. Deep three at the buzzer. Time expires to end the first half. The Jazz in command of this one.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jalen Rose, and this is your EA Sports Halftime Report. The Jazz entered the locker room at halftime with a significant lead. It was their playmaking, the way they gave each other scoring opportunities. That really impresses me. I love seeing unselfish basketball like that. These are the guys getting buckets. For the Utah Jazz,
Game track. Field goals.
as long as there's time left on the game clock, no lead is truly safe. They just have to be ready to seize every opportunity in the second half.
Player of the half.
Mike Conley has the defense figured out, and his shots are falling for him. That's a lethal combination that will be hard to overcome.
Who was cold?
No one wants to be picked for this segment, but he couldn't avoid it. Maybe he'll turn things around in the second half. We handpicked them for you. Here are the top plays.
Number 2. Number 1.
And that concludes our halftime report. Thanks for joining us, and see you again after the game.
Here's Paul, controlling the offense. To Gilgeous-Alexander. Surveys the floor. Here comes the screen. Gilgeous-Alexander to Paul. For three, another chance. Nice touch around the basket with the tip.
In the paint, you need to finish just like that.
Conley into the front court. His guys lead here early stages, third quarter. Mitchell against the elite defender Robertson. Had a chance, but it's no good. Paul with it up top. His guys trail by 10. Rebounds pulled in by Gobert. Conley into the front court. Looking to make something happen. Joe Ingles. Rudy Gobert returns last year. The Jazz go on their run. Jay, how reliant is Utah on the Frenchman?
I would say pretty heavily, considering he's the reigning NBA Defensive Player of the Year. This team has to win it on the defensive end. That is the mentality of the Utah Jazz.
Paul to Gilgeous-Alexander. Gets to the basket and scores.
No doubt about where that one was headed.
Jazz have the ball. Conley guarded by CP3 to Joe Ingles. Probing the defense. to Conley. And it's rebounded by Adams. To Gilgeous-Alexander. Paul. He was 0 for 6 to start. Let's see if that 3 turns things around.
Well, there's this old saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. This is why you've been practicing in the offseason so hard. You never let one miss deter you from taking the next.
Tough-looking shot there. Still gets it to go down.
He's been doing this for years, the physicality in which he plays. No one wants to see that. You're going to leave the game with black and blue marks all over your body.
Screen coming. Chance for Paul. The screen sets him up for 2. There's a sixth sense there that you just can't teach.
If you're a player on the same team with CP3, you should be taking that point guard out to dinner every single night. There's something to be said about a guard that makes the game way easier for you to be even more of an efficient offensive player.
Five to shoot for Utah. To Gobert. Rudy Gobert looking good. 4 for 5.
So many times you can tell if a player is going to finish before he even gets to the rim. Did you see that look on his face? That was a look of a three-point play. You always going in thinking you can get more at the rim.
To Paul. Beyond the arc for 3. And Chris Paul. Quick catch and shoot there. 4-3.
I know there are refs on the court all the time, but it doesn't mean they can see every play. Maybe defensively, grab his jersey, step on his toe, do something to kind of change up his pace.
Has a look. And he scores. Unguardable, Jay.
Man, he's got the defender out there tap dancing like that on national TV. That's not a good sign.
I'm here. I got ball.
Yes, and a foul. Hell of a chance at a three-point play.
People become so fixated on the hands or the arms or the strengths of the arms. I look at the legs. The strength of his legs help him power through that play. That's how you get and ones.
Free throw good to finish off the three-point play. It's back to a 5-point game. Bojan Bogdanovic against Adams. Another chance. Third quarter comes to an end. The fourth quarter on the way. The Jazz out in front. It's Utah basketball as we begin the fourth quarter. And that halftime lead, it was cut down in the third.
And just because the numbers on the scoreboard say that you're winning doesn't mean that the feeling on the court implies that. This team is gaining momentum. If you don't do something to gain your momentum back, they're going to come back and win this game.
Gobert. The Jazz with 4 on the shot clock. Mitchell. Oh, good offense beating good defense.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is a brilliant offensive display. You have ball movement, player movement, and great shooting to top it off. You get those three things going, you're going to be a dynamic offensive unit.
Paul to Gilgeous-Alexander. OKC now with 4 to shoot. Lets it fly from long range. Cleans it up. Nice follow-up on the dunk there.
We call that get your money and put it in the bank.
Utah with the possession. Mitchell guarded by Robertson. Yes, and the foul. And a chance at 3 coming up.
And I love the smile on the face of the offensive player. Sometimes luck is on your side. I don't know how that shot went in, but and one.
Bojan Bogdanovic trying to cash in on a three-point play. A career 86% from the line. The free throw good as he completes the three-point play. And the lead is up to 9. To Gilgeous-Alexander. Down for Robertson. Won't go down. Big man, Steven Adams. Now 4 for 9.
I love the drive to the basket there. Instead of trying to go around or over, go through.
Across the timeline, it's Conley. His team up by 7. To Joe Ingles. Here comes the screen. To Joe Ingles. Jumper's good.
You see, the great playmakers see the shot before it ever happens. They recognized how they were being guarded on the previous set, and then they make the necessary adjustments.
Paul to Gilgeous-Alexander.
Hey, double screen.
To Paul. Screen coming. Here's CP3. And the rebound taken by the big Frenchman, Gobert. Utah ball to Joe Ingles. Trying to cash in. Add 2 points to the board.
Bread and butter. And there are a few that can do it better off the screen.
Now Paul with the basketball. His guys down 11. Adams. A good defense by the Jazz as they come away with it.
Tonight, it may not cost you, but in a playoff game, it will.
Gets a look. Can't hit.
I just love where this takes you into the psychological battle as a player offensively. Was that a great contest, or did you just miss the shot? But now you have me thinking about that the entire next possession.
And he's fouled. Very close, Jay. The results, he's going to the line.
You never really want to foul a shooter, but if you do, ensure they're going to have a tough time converting. That's good knowledge of personnel.
First one, count it. And gets both to drop at the line. Conley into the front court. It's a 9-point lead. Mitchell picked up by Robertson. And watch him do the rest. Slam dunk.
For any fans out there that thought Donovan Mitchell didn't put any stock into the fact that he was not the Rookie of the Year, you are wrong. Donovan Mitchell was that type of guy that uses everything in his power to fuel him to be the best on the court each and every day. If that was a campaign he built with Adidas, rookie question mark, it doesn't matter. That perceived failure is something that will only make this kid better tomorrow.
Paul to Gilgeous-Alexander. To Paul. Gilgeous-Alexander. Big man, Steven Adams. He's 5 for 10, shooting 50%.
I was expecting the dish there, but way to fake that one and lay that one in.
Whistle blows, intentional foul.
Okay, now look over to the sideline and see what the staff is trying to draw up on the next play. That's good clock management thus far.
Five to shoot for Utah. 24-second violation. It's the Jazz who come away with the victory as they get a good win on the road. That does it. For my partner Jay Williams and our entire crew, I'm Ed Cohen. This has been a presentation of the NBA on EA Sports. For more, log on to easports.com. As we say, so long, everyone.
Here we go with the EA Sports post-game wrap-up. The Jazz put together a nice win here today. You ask me, and I'll tell you, it was the ball movement that made all the difference. There's something to be said for a team that can win as a group, and that's what happened here today. Here are the guys who put up the most points. For the Utah Jazz, the Thunder couldn't put it together to get the victory here today. And even though some of them smiled and shook hands with the other guys after the game, you could tell by the way they headed to the tunnels how disappointed they were about this loss. Check out the leading scores for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Game track. Assists.
The Utah Jazz were very impressive in the way they shared the ball, giving each other the opportunity to not just take good shots, but great shots. That's what I believe made the difference for them in this game, that being the great assists.
Player of the game.
Gobert was constantly willing to sacrifice his body to come up with as many rebounds as he could, and it showed in these highlights.
Who was cold?
This isn't the segment you want to be in, of course, but even the best players find their way into this part of the show. The Thunder didn't lose big, but it wasn't exactly close either. I'm sure they can't help but feel frustrated with the result, but they can't let that feeling linger. Sooner than later, they need to start thinking about the next matchup. Here are the guys who put up the most points for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Game track. Assists.
The Utah Jazz played fantastic team basketball today. Ball movement is clearly what separated these two squads.
Player of the game.
Gobert earned the award the hard way, and that's by doing it around the rim. He took the elbows, put in the effort, and came away with a significant number of rebounds. He did plenty to deserve the recognition.
Who was cold?
Every player that makes it to the NBA is a great athlete, but even the best players have their off nights. Today was just one of those days for this guy. Here are the top plays.
Number 2. Number 1.
The Jazz got themselves a win here today. And some people may disagree, but I think their ball movement was the biggest key to their victory. Still, I think we'd all agree that they made the defense look slow and confused throughout this matchup. Check out the leading scores for the Utah Jazz. The Thunder put up a fight, but didn't get their hands raised at the end. And even though some of them smiled and shook hands with the other guys after the game, you could tell by the way they headed to the tunnels how disappointed they were about this loss. What you see here is how the majority of the points were scored for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Game track. Assists.
The Utah Jazz showed off the kind of team chemistry that coaches love to see from their players. The more they moved the ball, it showed how much they trust each other. In the end, they got to win, and it looked like they had a great time doing it.
Player of the game.
Gobert did not shy away from contact in this game. He did the dirty work, getting plenty of rebounds to help his team get the win.
Who was cold?
What can you say about a guy like this? Except that he fits the title of this segment. He was definitely cold in this game. Here we go with the top 3 plays.
Number 2. Number 1.
The Jazz put one in the win column with a solid performance. You ask me, and I'll tell you, it was the ball movement that made all the difference. There's something to be said for a team that can win as a group, and that's what happened here today. What you see here is how the majority of the points were scored for the Utah Jazz. The Thunder didn't get the victory they wanted here today. I'm sure they can't help but feel frustrated with the result, but they can't let that feeling linger. Sooner than later, they need to start thinking about the next matchup. Check out the leading scores for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Game track. Assists.
The Utah Jazz were very impressive in the way they shared the ball, giving each other the opportunity to not just take good shots, but great shots. That's what I believe made the difference for them in this game, that being the great assists.
Player of the game.
Gobert was constantly willing to sacrifice his body to come up with as many rebounds as he could, and it showed in these highlights.
Who was cold?
This isn't the segment you want to be in, of course, but even the best players find their way into this part of the show. Here are the top plays from the game.
Number 2. Number 1.
The Jazz got the win with a comfortable scoring margin. And some people... That does it for us. On behalf of the rest of the crew, good night.